Wednesday near record heat, mid-90s for highs with lots of sunshine. Rain chances return later this week and put an end to the heat. I'm meteorologist Kat Campbell in the NCN Weather Center.
Angelic Florist Creations, 442 Hillsborough Street, Fayetteville, is family-owned and operated, proudly serving the Fayetteville area. Whatever the occasion, Angelic Florist Creations can create a floral arrangement or gift for any occasion or holiday. Angelic Florist Creations has prompt, friendly, and caring service. If you want to say you care, you can always say it with flowers from Angelic Florist Creations, 442 Hillsborough Street, Fayetteville. Call 910-485-2205.
Hi, this is DJ Paul G.
And this is DJ 06. And we are the Gospel Blend Brothers. Join us every Friday
from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. for
the Drive Time Gospel Mix,
as we get you to and from your destination,
vibing on good gospel music.
In the mix.
On WIDU 99.7 FM and 1600 AM. The Drive Time Gospel Mix.
It's one of life's simplest comforts. Turning on the tap and knowing clean, safe water's there. A glass before bed, a warm shower in the morning, water to cook, clean, and care for loved ones. So often, it's something that can be taken for granted. But behind every drop is a commitment to quality, safety, and service. At Fayetteville PWC, providing award-winning water is more than a service. It is a responsibility and a point of pride. Delivering clean, reliable water remains a top priority for Fayetteville and surrounding communities every single day, because clean water supports healthy families, strengthens neighborhoods, and helps communities thrive today and for generations to come. Discover more about the difference quality water makes at faypwc.com. Fayetteville PWC, always there, always on, always built to serve.
Back with Kirk deViere, chairman of the Board of Commissioners, talking about some downtown stuff too as well.
Downtown Fayetteville.
Downtown Fayetteville. Well,
I would like to point that out because, Cumberland, we could be talking about downtown Spring Lake, downtown Hope Mills, downtown Stedman,
That's not
Wade.
the present. That's not the present vernacular, sir. When you say downtown, you talk about the county seat, Fayetteville.
And we got some exciting things going on down there. Troy, a few years ago in this community, the downtown Fayetteville, had an opportunity to, bring a hotel and convention or meeting space down there. The deal was kind of on the table, really couldn't find the right location to make the financial model work.
So you had...
and this has been a few years ago.
A developer or whatever ready to do.
Yeah.
You just couldn't find the spot.
Again, I was in an office then, so I don't know all the specifics, but my understanding of it is, we were trying to identify a location, and none of them quite worked for whatever reason, whether it was the cost to acquire the property or whatever it was. But my point of it is that deal kind of fell apart. And at that time, the Crown Event Center was was going in downtown. That was the intent. They hadn't broken ground yet, but that was the concepts. Now fast forward 3 years, 3 years later, in last June, when we made the decision, the responsible decision to invest in the arena and the theater at the Crown and modernize and renovate that, what it did is it provided, now we had this lot on Gillespie Street. One of the things that, we had a couple people talk to me about, including our economic development team, is, hey, we had this opportunity years ago. We couldn't find a location.
Right.
Do we want to see if it's still feasible? So we engaged a consultant last November to put together a feasibility study to say, will this work in our downtown? We took the same company that had done the previous one in our downtown, not 2 years ago, and took that information or worked with that company to get an updated feasibility study. And what we got last night was a presentation on that. And what we're seeing is the market is still ready for a product like that. So we looked at hospitality products that would include a hotel, meeting space, convention space. So you get multiple, meeting space, convention space, 500 seating, 6,000 square foot, 8,000 square foot, movable, more amenity-based kind of hotel, top brand. So you're looking at Marriott, Hyatt's, Hilton, kind of vetted through those to make sure the model kind of fit, with those brands. 125 rooms, room for retail, parking deck that would accommodate not only the hospitality footprint, but also give us some additional capacity for the courthouse and, either the public or the employees that are there. So it gives us that additional capacity. But the important thing is the model still worked. Even in the economy the way that it is now, there's still a need for that type of product, and it was identified years ago. Now the difference is now we've got a location that makes sense and that can probably bridge that gap because the county owns the dirt. So when you begin to look at a public-private partnership, it works better, and potentially the numbers will work stronger to bring that type of product to this location. That doesn't mean the city's not part of it. And I get they're very interested in having a convention center in their downtown because they're a large city in North Carolina that doesn't have one. And I think that's why we were looking at, years ago, bringing that type of product. Now we've got an opportunity to do that again. So we directed our city manager. That got briefed to us last night, showed us some concepts of what it could look like, more amenity-based, so that boutique hotel, some restaurant, full service. You're able to have those conventions there. You're able to, bring in, the State Bar Association, whoever it may be, to come in and have military conventions there, an AUSA coming in to do a state, whatever it may be. So we provide that type of amenity-based hotel. That is what we're seeing in the market now. And what our consultant told us last night is these are the types of things that they're seeing in South Carolina, in Georgia, in parts of North Carolina, where they're bringing this style of hotel that is a small, it's not the top, it's not the 200, 250 room, it's that 125. The convention space kind of matches, so you can put people in the convention space and have the hotel rooms, full service. You've got that restaurant, potentially bar, rooftop, whatever, those types of amenities. But the space also provides opportunity for additional retail and some green space as well. So now we've got the land, the need is still there. Now we're just continuing to move forward to work on how we can bring this opportunity to life. And the nice thing about this, Troy, is this is private dollars. So we're investing private dollars. So now we're going to put it on the tax rolls potentially, and now you're bringing taxable income into downtown Fayetteville, but you're also has a product that also increases your food and beverage tax as well. So instead of in that location leveraging $200 million of food and beverage tax, now we're actually growing it where we can continue to use in other parts of the community. So there's a lot of opportunity that's there. It makes sense. It's as we looked at adjusting and focusing back on the Crown, what is the right product to go there? One of the things we said, and we said it very early on, we're not turning our backs on downtown Fayetteville. We knew there was another product that potentially could go there based on what had previously been looked at in downtown, and this is the opportunity to bring a product that downtown Fayetteville deserves, quite frankly, and that this community deserves.
So, in other words, a feasibility study has already been done.
That's right.
Okay, and that's a public document somewhere?
It's not all public because we're going to get a public-facing document. But what we are going to do is, because there's some proprietary confidential information in there that as you're negotiating, through this, there's some things that our consultant would say you don't want to release as we're going through this, begin to talk to development groups on what could actually be there. But that doesn't mean that in conversations with the city through confidentiality with the city that we can't, they can't receive that information and have that information, which is exactly what we directed our county manager after we received some of that information in closed session last night, because we had to, because it was economic development reasons why we were having those conversations around financials and those types of things. We directed our county manager to engage the city manager to have a conversation to begin to share some of that information in a confidential way, so that we could determine how and if his staff and then ultimately the council, and I'll have a conversation with Mayor Colvin on it as well, on how they want to be part of it.
Sure. Well,
or how they could
great.
be part of it, because
Right.
it's ultimately, it is their city, and they need to be part of it. And then as we get further down the road, and you begin to engage, that's where you begin to engage the stakeholders, and you get, we're a few steps away from that, but we want to engage the stakeholders on some things. We just showed some concepts last night, really trying to get a hold of that footprint and what you could put on that footprint, and more importantly, the types of things you need to put on that footprint that, one, the top brands would have a nod to say, yes, we would put our brand there, which is an important step. And then two, what makes it feasible for the developers, which is part of this study to say, can the market bear this? And what we saw is it can.
Sure. Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, I know that, every city like Greensboro, I think they have 4 seasons. Well, 4 seasons is at their 40s, not downtown. But that's probably a much bigger concept.
Yeah, but I mean, and you've heard Mayor Colvin talking about it. Every large municipality in North Carolina and in most regions has it has that meeting space in downtown, and we need it. I mean, it's been identified for years. I mean, you look at, again, they tried to bring a project there 3 or 4 years. I keep saying 3 or 4 years ago. I need to check my math. But a project was previously brought. It was identified that we could support it. Great opportunity. You don't have that meeting capacity plus a hotel, which is ultimately, if you go back to all these studies that everybody wants to reference, the end goal is always to get to a hotel. So let's go ahead and put the thing that's going to have the biggest impact in our downtown. Let's go ahead in downtown Fayetteville. Let's go ahead and put that there and add that meeting space around it, which was what was already identified.
Sure, right.
So
And
now
I
all
guess
we're doing is bringing that project forward with a location that actually works in a way that we know that it can still be absorbed in this market.
And I guess the main thing is that you're not inside of the taxpayers' pockets when you have private investors.
That's it. I mean,
Right.
that's I mean, think about the last time in downtown Fayetteville you had private investment at a large scale. 300 block.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
I mean, and that was a public-private partnership at the time.
Right.
I mean, you can talk about the stadium, but the city built the stadium with a long-term lease. You can talk about the parking deck, but the parking deck was city funded.
Right.
So when is the last time you've seen large private investment, which is, again, potentially moving that, onto the tax rolls? So now that's additional property tax in downtown.
Good idea. Well, let's talk about some other areas that perhaps there could be collaboration between the city and county. Well, you guys got some other areas, 911 center.
Yeah, we're continuing to have conversations on that. I'm a little I'm a little disappointed in where we are on that in some of the positions. Hopefully, we can continue to have some conversations around where our county's position is and what we believe is in the best interest of the community, from a cost savings, from a level of service, from the types of things. This is not the 2016-17 study. We're adding in the mental health component, which we've already, working with the Alliance to craft out this program that they've crafted out in other communities to make sure that we've got a mental health response inside our 911, and then eventually, a crisis response team or interdiction team. There's a lot of different terms for it, but making sure we've got mental health coupled with law enforcement to make sure that we're responding the right way. So that's one piece. We're bringing in, we're bringing in Fort Bragg. Fort Bragg has an interest in having conversations, not interested. They want to be part of our 911 system. We're already doing some things with them already. So it looks different than it looked in 2017 when everybody keeps referring back to that. There's just it's a different, the composition of it looks different.
Sure.
And we believe that the county is the right lead agency to run it. We can talk about different funding models. The funding model looks different than it did in 16 or 17, depending on how you look at it. You got to believe that if one entity is spending $10 million and other entities spending $7 million and you bring them together, there's going to be cost saving for our taxpayers. And for your individual budgets. And that's important right now as we're seeing, continued downward pressures on, on government budgets. So, that's an opportunity for us as well. Again, it probably hasn't moved at the rate that the mayor and I think the mayor and I are relatively in sync on, and I don't want to speak for him, but in our past conversations, we've been relatively in sync on, where we saw this going, and that's why we put together a joint public safety task force to come together. But it always came down to who runs this thing, and who is the lead agency on it. And, we believe that we're in the position to do that based on the assets that we have and, in the working relationship that we already have across our county with our public safety officials. Our dispatching, we already work together in a lot of ways. So
sure.
We'll see where that goes. That is an opportunity for us as well as we continue to move forward.
What else is on the table?
So, talking about collaboration, at 9:30 this morning, we have our joint meeting with the school board. So the school board is going to roll out, they've already released their budget, but we're going to get into a little bit of the details because we need to understand. Remember last year we allocated dollars against new construction and maintenance. They needed to go through repurposing and kind of consolidation process. They've done that now. So what they can provide us is a schedule by which, okay, this is when we need the money and how we need the money based on our schedule for new construction and maintenance. So maintenance over time, and then this is when we're going to build these new schools based on the schedule. And that will provide us a better understanding at the county on, okay, we need $100 million this year, we need $200 million next year, so that then we can plan out how we're going to, what mechanisms we're going to use to fund that, what types of bonds we're going to. Some of it may be pay as you go with our cash balances. So that'll give our financial team and our staff a better picture of how we need to program this out so we can program our debt model as well as our capital fund.
Sure.
So we're looking forward to doing that today, have some conversations around their operational side, better understand, where they're going, what they're asking for. Last year was the first year we did this, and it worked very well because this board's, top priority really it's one of its top priorities is education. And so last year we held this meeting. They hadn't done that before in a joint way around the budget. It was very, I think it led to a board fully funding and making the investments that hadn't been made in this community for years, especially on the maintenance and new construction. And so it's important we continue that dialogue this year to say, where were we, what did we do, and then where do we need to go together, and how do we do that together. And they've got an additional ask on the new construction, so they've added in another $150 million, which we'll hear about that this morning. And I think, you'll see a board that will be receptive to that as well and how we make those investments.
Okay, well, so when it comes to the whole education piece, like I said, you guys have made it a priority anyway.
Yeah.
Now you all have you all finished your budgeting process?
No, so great segue. So we start, just like the city manager presented his budget last week,
right.
A county manager on Thursday night at 7 p.m. is presenting the staff's recommended budget on Thursday. I will say we've had 2 budget workshops already. In the first one really being to make sure we were aligned on some expectations, what we were looking for from, tax rates and, priorities and those types of things. And so we've had some good dialogue, and so we'll receive this budget on Thursday, and then the board will then go through our process of several workshops to see if there's anything we want to modify, change, add to, take away, enhance, reprioritize to get to that final budget that we need to have by the end of June.
Okay. Well,
and the public will have an opportunity to have input as well. So on June 1st,
okay,
we're going to have 2 meetings, a morning meeting and an evening meeting. Public will have their opportunity to lean in to those and give us their feedback on what they believe is, they're going to see the manager's budget that's presented to us. We get their feedback. We're going through our budget workshops, making any changes that we need and any adjustments we need to make as we move forward. But the public will get their opportunity to speak on the budget as well.
So the manager's budget will be something that is accessible online?
It'll be online. It'll be online probably Thursday night as soon as he briefs it.
Okay. All right, great. Well, that's fantastic. Well, look, I know you guys got a lot of stuff going on, man. And
good times.
Like I'm saying, right. So the crush and run is there. So
it's it's 100. We had to do something. We needed parking capacity around the courthouse. You got a lot that's just kind of sitting there. We knew we were working towards some type of development opportunity. Wanted to see if this was feasible, if it was still a product that would work in downtown Fayetteville. Now we've confirmed that, but we thought it was important that we open some of that capacity up that was just sitting there. We've got some cleanup work to do. It's not
about 100 spaces.
It's about 100 spaces. It was initially just for the employees, but now we've opened it up to the public. Because it's a little bit safer. It's still temporary parking. We're not going back and redoing it. We just wanted to ensure that we had capacity for parking in that area because we heard over and over that it was an issue. And when you rip up 200 plus spots, and you do have a plan, but it's not fulfilling the need that was there. We needed to give some additional capacity, and hopefully over the next few weeks we'll get it cleaned up and looking a little bit better than it looks now. But it's always going to be temporary space because long term, hopefully we'll have this public-private development there. A hotel and mixed use.
Yeah, where they've been beating you over the head a little bit.
It's part of the business, Troy. It's part of the business.
One newspaper wears you out every chance they get. I understand.
It's fine. It's part of it. Like I said earlier, you make some decisions that make people happy. You make some decisions but if you keep the best interest of the community, that's what you got to stay focused on. And if you're going to be in politics and you're going to be in elected office, you got to be prepared for that. And I appreciate they're entitled to their opinion,
sure, as
I've said a lot of times, but they're not entitled to their own set of facts.
Hello.
And so I'll always try to correct them. It's like reading an article I read this morning when an interview I did yesterday with a TV station, and they continue to refer to it as the Performing Arts Center, and it was never a Performing Arts Center. It was a Crown Event Center. But that's here nor there. So You're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own set of facts.
Understood. Well, look, I appreciate you coming by, and you guys have a lot on your plate. One of your members told me one time, she said, "Troy, I have so much on my plate, I can't even shake salt on it."
But we've got a board that yes, we're moving at a higher op tempo than probably our staff would like or that you normally see county government. But we've got to set some things in place, and the planning that we're doing now is going to set the conditions for our success in the future, whether it's on infrastructure, our investments in schools, how we're investing in the sports and entertainment complex and around that crown to drive tourism, future planning on this aquatic center, what we're doing with the unhoused support center and ensuring that we're addressing the needs of that population as we lean in and look at our mental health piece. These are all things that we have to do in tandem, and we have to do it in a very deliberate way. And this board is doing that. Has there been some growing pains? Yes, because, we've got some blend from some previous boards and decisions that were made to where we're going now. But I think what you're seeing more and more is you got a board that truly cares about a community and wants to see it grow and wants to see the people in it prosper. And I think we'll get there. But we are moving at a different op tempo.
Sure. Thanks. Well, thanks for your update. 1 minute, and I'll give that to you.
Oh, you're gonna get back to me. So
right, 1 minute.
I'd encourage you to plug in on Thursday night. These are your tax dollars. Listen to what the manager is laying out and listen to the priorities. Review that document. You can watch it online, CumberlandCountyNC.gov. You can go to our YouTube channel and watch it anytime. Any of our meetings, including the ones last night that was long, you can go and watch that at your own leisure on our YouTube channel and stay engaged, stay involved. It's important as we continue to move our community forward. And just as we go into Memorial Day, just want to remember, all the families that lost loved ones, and know that this community is still wrapping our arms around you, and we're here to support you in any way that we can.
Sure.
And we're thankful for our military.
Right. Thank you guys so much. The mayor traditionally is scheduled to be on this coming Thursday. I don't know if he's coming back or not since he was on last Thursday. I check in with him. But anyway, we enjoyed the conversation. You guys have a great day.